Welcome to the Twice Over Movies podcast. If you're new here, check out our website at thetwiceover.com to get a better understanding of how we do our movie reviews. Our goal is to provide insight on elements of a movie which you consider more or less important, so that our scores are never misleading. Remember to follow us at the Twice Over on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and support us on Patreon.
This is a spoiler alert. This is your fair warning. If you haven't watched the movie, go watch it and then come back and listen later. All right, Fahad, what do you want to discuss right now?
I guess how the movie was constructed as a Greek tragedy. So it had traditional elements of it, right? It was told as almost a poem. The movie opens up, he's telling a poem. It's a Homeric figure. Movie ends with the same dude telling of the same story. It was extremely predictable, right? There's no element of like, oh, I didn't expect this to happen. Yet it was still intriguing. That stems from like, it's not the movie. It's not about like the what, because we know what's gonna happen. It's about how it all unfolds.
Yeah, it's not about what's gonna happen, but like how it affects the characters, or the community, or the society, right? Like you said, it is a tragedy. It has like the classic elements. I'm going to talk about one character that is, I guess, accelerating this tragedy, and that would be Leonidas.
I hated that character.
Like,
Hated that character. Yeah,
I didn't understand like again, this is one of the flaws, I guess, of the movie is he's pretty important to the story, but we know so little about the character himself. We just know he's kind of an alcoholic. From a young age, he was like drinking, but like, what makes him who he is? Like, why is he?
Why is he so vile?
Yeah, so why is he so vile? Why is he such a prick to others?
I would chalk it up to the corrupting influences of the money. He just,
No, but like he was like that as a kid too.
As a kid, no, he was more about like
he was
enthusiastic, trying to get involved.
He had anger even as a kid, man.
As a kid,
So
what scene?
The very first scene when his sister Zaida is
dancing with him.
Yeah, dancing with him, and he like trips and falls.
Yeah,
like people laugh.
Oh, he was embarrassed.
Yeah, but he like takes it like he's clearly taking it harder than he should.
Yeah.
When like when there's that horse race.
Yeah.
No, sorry, not the horse race.
Yeah, well, it's like a donkey race.
Oh yeah, it was a horse race, and he's like upset about not coming in first.
Oh yeah.
And then there's that one scene, I think is during the funeral of his dad, right? Of Ursula's husband.
What happens?
When he's sitting with the other kids and he's taking shots of whatever drink that they're drinking. And she has to come up to him and say, "Stop."
Oh, because he waves around a gun, right?
No, that's when he's an adult, or I guess young adult. I'm talking about when he was still a kid. Like the
Oh, okay, gotcha. Oh yeah, I remember now. Yeah,
it's like, I mean, he just had it in him, and they didn't like really show us why or how he became that way. Basically, they're planting the seed from the beginning, saying like, "Hey, this guy is gonna be a problem."
Yeah,
and
no one seems to address it, right? The mother Ursula, she doesn't address it, and
yeah,
that was like the fatal flaw. I think I chalked it up to her devotion to family. No, like all sins are forgiven if they're your family, and that's why she didn't discipline him, and that's why he became so.
And
corrupt.
also because he's now the man of the tribe itself. Like he's the.
Oh yeah, that's her son.
Yeah,
her daughter is married into that dude's family, Raphael's family, to Raphael. So yeah.
That leads me to a scene that was just discussing. Vile is the right word. When he forces one of the men in Annibal's family to eat dog shit.
Right, for money, right?
Yeah, for money.
And I think what he was demonstrating there was how money is king.
Yeah, how the power lies where the money is, and
yeah,
he has it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's doing it to like show his power, as if it's impressing the girl that he wants to impress, and he ends up raping and causes the war.
Yeah.
Man, he was just rough character. I just wish they did a little more to
Soften him up.
not soften him up, but like give us an idea into why he is who he is.
Okay.
I just felt he was there to
As a plot
uh
device.
yeah, he's antagonizing like the harmony, right?
Yeah.
That everyone's making money, they're doing well. Of course, they're still struggling with their own tradition versus like the whatever comes from money and the modern way of life. And so I had to look this word up. Alihuna.
Oh, yeah. It means outsider or person of destructive tendencies, right?
Yeah,
It's almost like a racist term.
yeah, pretty much, and it's generally used to describe people of European descent in Colombia.
Mhm.
And so, what did you think of the relationship between Rapayet and Moises?
Oh, I thought it was a great relationship. It was almost they were almost brothers, right? They called each other brothers. At least Moses was calling him Raphael his brother.
Hmm.
And it was such a tragedy that he had to kill him. And I felt that in that moment after he killed Moses, Raphael just became a soulless, uninteresting character just because after that point he was just like haunted by Moises. He mentions he's not getting sleep. Mentions how he's already dead.
Yeah, and well, not how he's dead, but his soul is
His
dead,
soul is dead,
and
right?
how he's hallucinating, right?
Yeah. Uh,
I mean, I can't tell what kind of bird that is. Is that like a stork or something that he's just
you know,
seeing?
we only see the bird's feet, right?
Bird's
It's
feet
interesting, yeah.
and like I think like a shadow here and there, but like yeah, I'm wondering if like that's Moises or because he's like talking to Moises. He's like
Oh yeah, in this
talking to him as if
very
he's in the
spooky
room with
scene, right? Rapiath is facing away from the door, and Ursula's
him. Hmm.
walking in, and Rapiath's talking away to no one seated across him. Yeah, it was a very nice scene. Yeah, I like how the dead linger on. I'm not familiar here with Wayuu culture, but I bet this is part of their mysticism, right? Their beliefs that the dead linger on.
Yeah, and I mean for me it was just taken away that Rappa is just haunted by killing Moises. I mean he's clearly a very peace loving guy. Like he's doing everything in his power to avoid
Conflict.
any kind of death.
Yeah,
And even when Moises messes up and kills the two Americans,
yeah.
he like Raphead says like the Wayuu can't touch a murdered body, so you're gonna have to bury them.
Uh
So
huh.
he's like super traditional in that sense, and I mean I say he's super traditional, but he clearly believes it too, right?
Hmm.
Or else he wouldn't say something
You
like
wouldn't say,
that.
yeah, he'd help out. I thought that was one of the most funny scenes of the movie. The scene of what to do with the planes. They start hacking at it and burying
Yeah, they
it.
bury the plane
Yeah.
itself.
So was there a little bit of symbolism there? Because a plane's a bird almost, and they're burying a bird.
I don't know, man. There's a lot of symbolism in this movie, and I'm not like too proud to say that most of it probably went over my head.
Same here.
Like I said, the cinematography, I
Uh
gave
huh.
it 100 because you can tell that the director is trying to convey something in almost like every shot,
Yeah.
and it's not gonna it's like impossible to pick it up on just like watching it and trying to enjoy the movie. But if you wanted to, you can definitely go back and like study it and pick up everything.
Mm.
And I looked around online to see if I could find any like true like in-depth study of the movie, but it doesn't look like anyone's done it. Maybe we could do it, I don't know, but
Okay.
it's not really what this podcast is for.
Wanted to make a comment. I thought the movie was pretty straightforward, as we discussed from the get. You know, as soon as the movie starts, from the poem, you can tell it's going to end in tragedy. So you almost feel fatigued
Mhm.
by that time the end rolls around with all the death. And it kind of reminded me of my experience reading 100 Years of Solitude, which I mentioned a little bit before. I also love that movie, but love that book, but that was an exhausting book to read just for the same reasons. And I thought the film and the novel share a lot of similar elements. I highly recommend that book.
I shall check that book out. Speaking of like how it ends, I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to point out one of my favorite shots of the movie.
Okay.
It's after so Annabelle asks like one of his henchmen, I guess, to get people from Medellin to come and shoot up
Oh yeah.
Raphael's house. So after they come through to the house and they just
Uh-huh. Demolish it, annihilate it. Yeah.
yeah, would just annihilate it with bullets
A
and rocket
mortar.
launchers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when they leave, you just have the house with the cloud coming in over from like the left side, smoke billowing out of the house. It's
Uh-huh.
just a beautiful shot.
Oh yeah. Wind and elements of wind and rain. And it was referred to
Hmm.
before. I think in the poetry they were talking about how the winds will wipe away the footprints of the people. So the
Yeah,
wind and rain, they almost have like an erasing capacity. And so that's what's happening in
exactly.
that
Yeah.
last
And
scene.
that's why he's like singing the story so that the birds will continue to sing it. So the birds will
Carry the message
keep
and
the message
lessons.
alive.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like this is where like it kind of ties into the symbolism of where Raphael is seeing this bird and like having conversations with it is maybe within the Wayu culture that uh I could be totally wrong, but like birds are like the messengers of of the history or of memory,
Mhm.
and it lives within them.
Yeah,
I don't know.
that's probably right.
Well, I have a question about I mentioned Anibal.
Uh-huh.
He was Raphael's cousin. He was basically the supplier of the marijuana, and it's his daughter, right, that gets raped
Right.
by Leonidas. And he pretty much is, hell bent on getting revenge for that action.
Uh-huh.
So did you think like he gives up everything, right? He gives up his business. He gives it up to his henchmen and says, "Here, you guys from Medellin can
Yeah.
take the business. Just tell me where I can find Rapayet or Ursula or Leonidas."
Uh-huh.
And what did you think of that? Like that he was so hell bent on revenge? Because Rapayet, to avoid the war, does straight up say like, "Hey, just take over everything.
Yeah.
We'll literally leave the business. 100% of everything will be yours."
Yeah, so he wasn't as, I guess, revenge focused, or Rabiath wasn't as revenge focused, even though he had nothing to avenge, but the slights of Annabelle, he could have sought revenge there. I thought Annabelle was just like a more traditional character who was, I guess, dishonored or embarrassed, or I don't know how important that is to Wayu culture, but from the film it seems to be very important.
I thought the interesting aspect of
Uh-huh.
that was how both Rapayet and Annabelle don't care. Like money was not their number one priority for either of them,
Yeah.
right? And they still like have this war. It wasn't about
Yeah, it wasn't
money,
over like a
wasn't about
business
power
situation.
either.
Yeah.
It was about honor, right? At the end of the day,
Yeah, it was yeah, it was familial conflicts.
his main priority was family, and he says it early on in the movie too. Like that's what he's gonna take care of. He's gonna take care of his family. So that was his main priority, and it seems Annabelle's main priority was, I guess, honor, for his family. I mean, Annabelle, I felt like he had every right to be pretty upset because of Raphael's
Mhm.
initial decision.
But are you questioning the motivation to give up everything for that little bit of revenge?
Well, like, look, because initially Raphael does not kill Moises when he was supposed to.
Would
Even by like the Wayu cultural tradition, he
uh-huh.
was told you have to go kill Moises because he took the lives of two people,
Oh,
and
okay, yeah.
he doesn't, right? He lets him go, and that leads to Moises killing his cousin Gabriel, who is, I assume, Annabelle's brother or related to Annabelle's family. I don't know, cousin or brother or what.
Uh-huh.
Um, and Annabelle is already ticked off right there, and it takes a lot for Raphael to mend their relationship, but it's clearly not the same after that. And then obviously the rape of his daughter is gonna push him over the edge. I
Yeah,
thought he was totally okay to go after Raphael and the family
yeah.
because it was like the second strike, and it was a big strike.
Mhm.
I mean, both strikes were huge, basically, is
Mhm.
what I'm saying.
And I like that scene where it's the henchman talking to Ursula, and Annabelle is telling Ursula, "Speak to my henchman. I have no authority at this." after
Yeah, he's
he's
giving
given
it
up.
all up.
Yeah, and he's so humbled.
Yeah, he's so and then the shot at the end too when he goes and finds Raphael, it says him and a donkey.
Yeah, and he seems perfectly content with that. Just seeking
Yeah,
his revenge.
it doesn't matter to him.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Ursula because clearly she's a major character. What did you think of her in general?
She was a strong character. She was willful. She generally got her way, except for one or two situations. Like, for example, when Rapiat decides to go to the second wake of his cousin Gabriel, she didn't get her way
Mhm.
there, and that actually leads to the destruction of the family. Right? That's where Leonidas sees Annibal's daughter, and the wheels are set in motion for the eventual tragedy.
Yeah,
Her character was great.
exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what I was gonna say. Ursula, I mean, she seems somewhat irrational again because she is living according to like that mystical
Uh-huh.
lifestyle where she's basing her decisions on
Yeah, and it's
like
on.
dreams or like the spirits and like etc. And like things that maybe other characters and us as viewers might not be able to understand. But she does seem to be right almost about everything.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, she was right about Gabriel's second wake. She was right about not letting Annabelle take Leonidas as a worker for punishment.
Hmm.
Um, and she was right about, oh, don't listen to because Annabelle sends over a henchman to Raphael to tell him like, "Hey, punishment is for Leonidas to come and work at in the fields." And she's like, "No, don't listen to him. They need to send a word messenger." And she was right about that too, and Raphael didn't listen.
Mm.
But yeah, like you said, she's a strong character.
And she
Again, she seems
highlights the
controlling.
female perspective, right, of devotion to family. She seems to imbue that on Rapiat before. He was Rapiat was an orphan, right? He had his uncle, but he
Mhm.
didn't seem at that point to be as connected to the YU tradition. And then when he marries into the family, you can see how Ursula is influencing him in his decisions and how he values his family more. And
Yeah, so I thought, okay, I wanted to make one statement about Raphael and his initial struggle. I mentioned how he tells Ursula and Zaida that he is going to basically take care of the family. That's his number one priority. And I guess there's this confliction point where he has to choose between business and family, but in reality, it's it's the same decision, right? So when it comes to avoiding the war after Leonidas rapes Annabelle's daughter,
yeah.
he he's not avoiding war. Like it can be like seen as oh he's trying to avoid war to keep business going, to keep like the status quo flowing as it is, but it's more so he's trying to keep his family protected. And we know that because he doesn't care about the business and is willing to give all of it up. I just thought like he's a man of principle and he lives by it. And he doesn't even when the time for his death comes, when Annabelle finds him, he doesn't particularly like find it saddening or he's
Uh-huh.
not
He
scared.
makes that comment that we were all dead already, something to that effect.
Yeah, that's when he makes the comment. So he's like, I was waiting for this almost, right? Like, do what you need to do.
Yeah.
'Cause at that point, in his eyes, he's probably already failed because he doesn't have his family anymore.
Yeah. Does he realize that they're dead at that point?
I don't know if he would know,
Okay.
but I would think he thinks that, yeah. I mean, I guess to him, whether they're alive or not, it doesn't matter, right? That's the point.
Yeah. Because they're lost him. They're not with him. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
I think we already mentioned how the movie tries to keep the violence off screen as much as possible, except for that last scene, right? So that's something I really
Mhm.
respected. It goes against the genre where it's like,
Yeah, and it's just as like harrowing to see or know what happened without actually seeing it happen.
yeah.
A good example of that is when Leonidas decides to rape Annabelle's daughter.
Hmm.
Like we see him basically lurking in the on the property, and she's like enjoying an afternoon by the pool, and she goes inside, and we see him come out, and like it just comes like, oh no, please no, don't do this, and like you're thinking it. They don't show anything. The next scene it just cuts, and this is where the music comes in, and they got like that really high pitch, like I guess it's like a horn instrument
Yeah.
that's being played, a traditional like horn instrument that I don't know what it is or what it's called, and you just see Leonidas booking it, and he's just running, and you know exactly what happened, and it's just as like it feels as if you just saw it happen, but you didn't, but you know it happened, and it feel like the feeling,
Uh-huh.
what it's trying to convey, still comes through. So
Yeah.
like, there's just a lot of props to the direction
Yeah.
and the decisions made by the directors here.
Do you remember that horrible movie that we watched at the film fest with about World War II and that Jewish kid roaming the Polish countryside?
Yeah, The Painted
The
Bird.
Painted Bird, yeah. As horrific as it was, the movie also tried to keep as much of the violence off screen and in the viewer's imagination,
It did, except for a couple.
except for a couple, yeah.
What would you say is your main takeaway from this movie?
My main takeaway. What do you mean?
I mean, I can tell you mine. My main takeaway was the Raphael, specifically his struggle
Uh-huh.
with making money
Oh, where the
and
source of
keeping
the conflict
tradition.
was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, that doesn't have to be your main takeaway, but for me, that was the main takeaway. How it isn't even, again, about your traditional drug trade stuff like loyalty, power, money. It's about honor and tradition, really. And whether you honor your tradition, and if it like what the consequences are if you don't.
Yeah. And we see where his actions, because he didn't honor, or I mean because he didn't follow the traditional ways of the YU, that led to tragedy, right?
Yeah, and according to Ursula, it's that he did business with the Alejunas, right?
So racist.
It is pretty racist. Well, yeah, I mean, from their perspective, I mean, they're seeing people come in and
I mean, he's clearly not European, so she's clearly meaning the other meaning of Alejunas, which is like the destructive person
yeah,
or whatever.
destructive force.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um. Well, what did you think about this? So I thought this was a very interesting scene. It's actually pretty important too.
Mm-hmm.
After Raphael and the family, they secretly leave, right? Because they know that the Annibal's family is gonna come and comfort them.
Yeah.
And Ursula. Oh, this is after Annabelle has killed the word messenger, which is a cardinal sin in the YU tradition. So all the elders and word messengers of the other tribes of the desert, they come to Ursula, and even then, they're not willing to back up Ursula, and they say you have to give up your talismans, the necklaces that she has.
Kind of like disassociating yourself from the YU
Yeah,
community, right?
basically,
And
yeah,
she
like,
agrees.
well, yeah, exactly. She agrees to it because they do. Then the YU people, they do go out and they kill Annabelle's family, right?
Yeah.
They they seek revenge,
But
and
they don't
but that's
they
the
don't finish it
but
off. They don't finish off Annabelle in a completely botched job, right? You have all those.
yeah, they miss him and the henchman driver.
Yeah.
Um, but like I just thought it was interesting how, like, again, this comes back to like honor and tradition, that they only go so far. Like they're not gonna protect Ursula. They're just gonna go punish Annabelle for killing the word messenger,
Yeah. Because
right? But they're not gonna
they
protect Ursula because they also think Ursula is
corrupted.
has gone far
Oh
beyond
yeah.
the tradition
Yeah.
to
They even
dishonoring
mention
them.
how the word messenger was corrupted because he sought profit and wealth.
Yeah, just fascinating, man. It's just a fascinating
Yeah,
movie.
it is.
You just don't see this stuff.
So I'm looking forward to his next movie, and but the next movie by this was her first directorial movie, Christina Gallego.
Okay,
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to what these two produce later.
yeah, I really like this movie. Everyone should go and watch it.
Agreed.
All right, I think we're done here then, right, Fahad?
Yeah.
All right, thanks everyone for listening.
Thanks for listening.
We'll catch you next time.
Thanks for listening to this production of The Twice Over. If you haven't already, subscribe and follow wherever you get your podcast, and remember to support us on Patreon or by sharing the podcast with a friend. Feel free to contact us on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook at The Twice Over, or email us at comments@thetwiceover.com. All of the music you heard is from Amerigo Gazaway. Check him out on Bandcamp and Spotify.